That kind of change for us all. Is no restart.
Big move in Bitcoin then, in contrast to all the notes I wrote pre-show, which were telling me that this was going to put Bitcoin under pressure.
The narrative that perhaps this launch of these political meme coins will sap flows from Bitcoin is showing us that it's really not the case this morning. If anything, it's just accelerated the momentum and the excitement around cryptocurrency under another tough
Hello.
Hi, Dewald. What is all this FOMO about? Should I buy Bitcoin now?
Are you smoking your socks? You should rather watch my show. You should rather watch my show.
All right, welcome legends. Welcome legends to another live stream. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. The price of Bitcoin is pumping in the air. Everyone is excited. Their longs are roping in some profits. And now the question is, where are we potentially going to reject? I think, from a simplicity perspective, when you start pumping aggressively like this to the upside, it's in order to zoom out a little bit. And all I did over here is I took a fib from the top all-time high to the all-time low over here and just, well, okay, this looks like a really interesting zone where we could potentially get a rejection. Okay, and guys, I'm talking about a rejection. Okay, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about that could be a potential short opportunity. You find support above the highs, you take advantage of the move, and then you play the momentum back to the upside. Maybe there's a nice little trend that forms. You play the breakout, and that is how we trade from a day trading perspective. Remember to smash up that like button on your way in if you haven't done so already. Right? Yes, I smoked. Daily sock sniffing. Right, you guys are absolutely funny. Mr. Simon Jones, welcome to the live stream. Dewald smoked their socks, literally, man, hospitalized after daily sock sniffing. Right, a short bull trap. Afternoon, dude. James XRP, welcome to the live stream. And we've got the mods here in the house. Thanks for joining, everyone. Let's get the party on the road. We've got Mr. Steampunk here as well. Hurry up that we can open a short together. Well, if we hit that level to the upside, I will definitely open a short depending on the price action that I see. Okay, I do not FOMO into trades unless I know exactly where to put my stop loss, why I'm entering the trade, and where I'm going to take profits. That is how I enter the trades. Right, legends, now let's do a little bit of technical analysis. Today was quite an interesting day, and there was a very interesting scenario that I discussed with the Legends Pro community this morning. Okay, so when we look at this structure, this little bad boy that we have now formed here to the upside, I told the Legends Pro community this morning, and for the Legends Pros that are here inside of the live stream, you know exactly what I'm about to say. I played that what if scenario with me. There's a couple of bearish case scenarios that's been invalidated, which is okay, right? You want the scenarios to start getting invalidated so you can give higher probability to other scenarios. The one scenario I thought about this morning is to say that, well, the big issue with this momentum here to the upside is this. This is the issue. This. The retracement has been extremely shallow. For this to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is a very, very rare target for a wave 2. It's not seen often. Out of 100 times, maybe you'll see it happen once or twice. That's how rare it is. So it does happen, but it is extremely rare, and we trade probabilities at the end of the day. But, okay, what made this interesting for me is to say that, well, a wave is also a 5-wave structure. What if this is A? B waves like to retrace to the 0.236. Okay, so what if all of this is a B? And now we're doing an A, B, C here to the upside. Now that becomes interesting. So I told the legends we cannot just be looking for shorts, and we miss all the longing opportunities to the upside. Perhaps momentum is going to continue parabolically here to the upside like it's doing now at the moment. So we changed our tune. Based on new price action, bullish CVD locally forming consistently on the lower time frames, I think it was definitely in order to start looking for longs here to the upside. Okay, so legends, yes, there is a scenario that caters for higher levels, but I am still in the camp of there's a high chance that whatever pump is happening here to the upside could be a wave C, and we could see a deeper retracement at some point. But you know, the larger time frames, it's not why I'm here. It's not what the YouTube channel is about. It's about scalping these little long entries to the upside and know exactly where to short, so that if you do fall to the downside when you start hitting support again, okay, nice little short trade in the bag, you break the trend back to the upside, a nice little long entry, you claim the high, you cash out. So it's about shorting, it's about longing with good risk management, applying your trading strategy. Okay. Right, legends. Now, okay, I'm not going to do a lot of or any high time frame analysis over here. I'm not going to go into the daily on the 4 hour. There are many scenarios that could still play out, and perhaps tomorrow or during the week I'll choose another day and we can go through the high time frame scenarios to determine, well, is there a high chance for the low to be in, and this could be the start of something great here to the upside. Okay, in actual fact, I don't actually care, right, whether the low is in or not, because as a day trader I can play up or down, it doesn't really matter. But based on what is going to happen with this structure, I can already tell you guys, in terms of how the structure is going to end, whether there's a chance for bullish continuation or whether, you know, all hell's going to break loose and we're potentially going to come and claim this low again. But you have to be patient, you have to sit on your hands, you have to wait for the structure to play out. Okay, and there's something really specifically that I am waiting for, that I've been talking about every time we've made a low here on Bitcoin. I said I'm waiting for a specific structure before I open up a swing trade, specifically on Bitcoin, right? Altcoins, I see ETH just started rock and rolling. This is also a trade that I spoke about this morning. I think Dylan, one of the coaches inside of our Legends Pro community, also spoke about this trade, but it was very interesting, this little retest at support. And I told the legends, I think we were trading here already, I told the legends, it looks like ETH is coming to this area over here. It just looks like it wants to come and tap this area. It has broken the trend. It's done the retest. It looks like it wants to rock and roll here to the upside. Okay, and now it's currently finding some upwards momentum. So now, legends, let's go back here onto the 15-minute time frame. And maybe, yeah, let me stick here onto the 15-minute time frame. So now there's a couple of interesting levels that we need to keep in mind. Now that we know that this could potentially be an A, B, and this is now forming a C wave here to the upside, well, there are targets. There are shorting opportunities to the upside, but you have to hit the target and you have to wait for the reaction to see what you like to enter those nice little shorts. Okay. Right, legends, for those of you that's just joined the stream, I see people are streaming in over here. Make sure that you hit that like button, okay? So one of the interesting FIP pools is, okay, let me switch on the scenario over here. This is the one that I discussed this morning with the Legends Pro community. And now we are hitting the first target. We are officially hitting the first target over here. Okay, so if we are forming an ABC here to the upside, we are now hitting the 0.618. A very interesting fact that I want to tell everyone about the 0.618 is that it's not really a common C wave target, but if you have formed an A and you have completed a B wave in a triangle, the 618 is your maximum target for a C wave. Okay, Just want to put out there. So there's a chance that price could reject over here and fall to the downside, right? This zone to me is a very interesting zone to start looking for longs again, because this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can continue to the upside. But then why, you ask yourself, well, you might be asking me, well, Dewald, why do you think we're going to continue even if we drop this far and then still continue if this is the maximum target? Because the problem with this little triangle in a B wave is that it can also be counted as a complex WXY corrective structure, which is not a triangle, which then opens up the door for higher levels. Okay, so the problem, guys, with this corrective structure, and we've been battling with this damn corrective structure, very complex, very overlapping, very, shallow retracement. It's just been an absolute nightmare, this little structure over here. And now this can like to look like a little bit of a triangle as well, where you have your A, the peak of A, and you formed an A, B, C, D, E. And now we are rock and rolling here to the upside to complete the C wave. And now the problem is this little triangle can also be counted as a complex WXY corrective structure, which means it's not a triangle, which means that the C wave can go to the 786, it can go to the 1-to-1 extension, it can go to the 1.236. By the way, this is your most common box over here. The most common, if you look at ABC corrective structures, okay, this is 7 out of 10 times it rejects in this little zone over here, either the 1-to-1 or the 1.236. These are very rare C wave targets, but if it's a triangle, this is the most important target. Okay, and then obviously you can get an extended C wave that goes all the way to the 1.618, the magic number, right? And it's here, I think, where things are going to become very interesting, because if the C wave has to extend all the way here to the 1.618, it also opens up the door and gives the probability, well, what if this is a third wave? What if in that rare instance, okay, the 1 out of 100 or the 2 out of the 100, this is actually a 1 and this is a 2, and this is a third wave here to the upside. But I can tell you guys now, this is what I'm waiting for. So on the larger time frame, on the 30-minute time frame, not really so large, right? Depending on what I see to the upside. So if price continues to grind here to the upside, and let's say it rejects by the 1.236, the 1-to-1 extension, the 1.618, doesn't really matter where it rejects. It's the retracement and the one more leg up that's going to give us a clue. If this is an ABC, you expect upwards momentum in waves. Nothing goes up in a straight line, so it's going to create waves here to the upside. Okay, but this retracement becomes very interesting, because if it's a C wave, it's going to fall. Okay, it's going to make the waves to the downside, but they are quite aggressive. It falls really, really quickly to the downside. If it's a third wave, it's going to fall slowly in a 3-wave structure, very choppy, very corrective, okay, and it's going to make another high. So when I see this after a corrective structure and you make one more high, that then opens up the door. Oh boy, we have a 5-wave structure. It's then this retracement becomes very interesting for me to open up swing trades. But until I see this, okay, I'm just day trading over here. This is the only time I will consider a swing trade once I see this. If we just go up here and we reject and fall down, not interested in a swing trade on Bitcoin for that matter. Right, so legends, now we have our levels here to the upside, okay, very important. And we are currently now at the 0.618, and if this is a triangle, what I will be waiting for, okay, so let's look at this little price action over here. As long as price is above my area of interest, I am not interested in shorting. Okay, because I do see some people, swing failure traders, they have a level over here and they start adding and they start adding and adding and adding to the position, and then it just continues, and you have a big hole in your account. And at what point do you stop adding and just say, okay, let me take the knock? cash out, wait for another level to get hit. Okay. I will only get interested in a short trade over here if price rejects. It needs to reject. Okay, then I know where to put my stop loss. And if I'm wrong, I'm taking a small little knock, because you're wrong in trading, but it's about keeping your losses small. Okay, if you're right, then you get a nice little retracement. You start hitting support here to the downside. Definitely a profit taking area. Okay, right. So legends, this is your first area of resistance. I think what makes this area so interesting, I just want to see if we haven't shot way past that level. Okay, let's look at this structure over here. Let me switch this off. Okay, now we can do some, we start building some confluences. If I take a fib maybe from this pivot to the low, let's see where we are. Okay, interesting. We are at the 786. The 786 has not been tapped just as yet. So you can also use your Fibonacci lines as swing failure lines. So if it continues pumping and it just, it struggles, it starts falling down, that's a sign of weakness. Your stop goes above the high. And as soon as you start hitting support here to the downside, support, always a great TP1 profit taking area. Okay, but you can still see that your risk to reward, I can just look at it, I can see that the risk to reward will be worth it. You will make way more money than what you are risking there at the moment. Right, and I'm going through these scenarios from an education perspective as well. So, I mean, obviously price needs to reject, okay? I'm not entering this trade, legends. I'm just, showing you guys what I would do if price had to reject. So, if you enter at the rejection, your stop loss goes at the highs, and you're targeting the first area of support, okay? It's the risk to reward for me, it's almost 2.72. It's definitely, for me, it's worth the risk to reward. But I can tell you guys now, if price continues to pump over here, okay, maybe it does not even hit the 786, but it continues to pump and I have to move my stop loss, and the risk to reward doesn't make the trade worth it for me, I don't enter. Even if it falls, I don't care. That's my rules. It's my rules from a trading perspective. Okay, if the risk to reward is not more than 2 or more, I don't enter the trade. Okay. Because, guys, you have to remember, from a day trading perspective, there's always another trade around the corner. Always another trade around the corner. Because maybe you missed this trade, okay? I'm just playing out a couple of scenarios. Maybe you missed the trade because it's pumping too high. And now you're like, crap, I missed it, okay? Price now fell here to the, it pumped. Price fell here to the downside. I missed the short, damn, right? But then something magically happens. There's bullish CVD building up against these pivots, showing that strength is starting to enter the market. Maybe there's a nice little trend forming over there. Okay, you see, now there's a next trading opportunity. Okay, I missed the short, but ooh, maybe this long is a better opportunity. You play the long, you play the breakout, right? So just to give you guys an idea of, there's always another trade around the corner. You miss one trade, you just have to be a little bit patient. You wait for the next trading setup to form so that you can trade with good risk management. Right, so legends, I mean, price is pumping here at the to the upside at the moment. It is above the 786, but I think, I really like my trend-based fib extensions, because there's a couple that you can pull over here. I just want to see if some of them have been invalidated. The one that I looked at is to say, legends, well, what if this is still that WXY here to the upside? Very overextended. This leg in time compared to this leg is really out of balance, but the fib pool looks like it's still getting respected. So let's go check it out. You take a trend-based fib from the low to the high to the low. Let's drag it across. Okay, each level got respected, but then it just ignored the 1.236. But I have seen this before. I have seen this before. Do you guys remember when we had the fall here to the downside? We also sliced through the 1.236 like it didn't exist. And guess where we got this bounce? This bounce, ladies and gentlemen, was at this level. To perfection. So, you know, if price rejects, gets it. But now you guys can see there's many ways to get the targets to the upside. The reason I like this FIB pool is because when we tap the 0.618 for the first time, you got a reaction. When you tap the 786, right, you got a reaction. Well, you got plenty of reactions there. You can see how well this level was respected. When you tap the 1-to-1 extension, you got a reaction. Now, no reaction at the 1.236. So let's see how it reacts over here. But we still have the magic number up here, the 1.618. So for me, if I'm not in a long and you're now looking for a shorting opportunity, this is typically how I look for those shorting opportunities. Okay, pullback coming with the new moon. Yes, I know the new moon is around the corner. Hit that like button, guys. Welcome to the live stream. A mistake I always make is adding to margin when things don't go as I predicted. Yes, Ali Amini, you're not alone. I think we all have, you know, if you've been in the trading game for a little while, and you know, maybe for a year or two, or even for 6 months, you've most probably made the exact same mistake. I've made it as well, plenty times. So please don't feel alone, right? But it is about if you are learning from that, or if you are ignoring the mistakes that you are making. But I must say, legends, this FIB pool for me now looks the most interesting. A FIB from the low to the high over here, this high, to the low of B over here. So I need to show you how to pull this FIB. Okay, this is now currently, for me, the best FIB pool because I'm counting the structure as an A. Okay, complex corrective structure, triangle, it doesn't really matter, but your B wave came to an end over here. Right, then you had the breakout here to the upside, and now you can see if I go here onto the 5-minute time frame, you can clearly see 5 waves to the upside. It's just pumping, and we can go focus on that smaller time frame in a moment. But now this is interesting to me. It looks like we're getting a reaction at the 0.618. Okay. If no reaction, I'm looking at the 786. If no reaction, I'm looking at the 1-to-1 extension. But I have to highlight, these two are the most common. I'm not going to say it's the most important. They are the most common targets. Interesting thing, I just want to go see where's my support and resistance boxes. Okay, because I actually have them drawn out. Interesting. I actually do not have, except for Fibonacci levels, I do not have any resistance at this level. Okay, my resistance actually starts here by the 786. Then at the 1-to-1 extension, I have resistance. And I mean, if I zoom out here, I can show you guys, these resistances are pretty well lined up, even with Fibonacci levels. Okay, and I've also used the VRVP to make sure that I get these levels exactly the way that they need to be. Right, so let's see over here. I mean, you can see the support and resistance. You know, you look at the price action over here, definitely. Okay, this is where price struggled. This is where it found support. Okay, so it makes sense that it's in this zone. You have all of this consolidation. You also have resistance, support. Okay, so it makes sense that it's over there. Then you have this on top. You can see the resistance that it acted over here, resistance over here, right at the 1.236, and then the 1.618. Okay, you can see over here resistance, and then, I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to get that high, legends. Let's not talk about levels that's so high. But also, you know, I also like to double check my levels is that I will often take a trend, a FIB retracement from the high of the structure to the low that you've made to see that, well, does these levels line up? Oof, actually, right? They line up beautifully. This one a little bit out of whack, but you can see, you know, almost in confidence with the 0.382, 0.5, 0.6, 0.618. And you will, I'm not sure if you guys can see it on your screen, but this one is a little bit darker than my other resistance boxes because this is the most important one. It's the golden pocket, right? And then that one just aligns with that trend base fit, but the 1.618 also aligns with the 786. So it's a way for me just to double check that I have my resistance boxes exactly where they need to be. And then I also switch on the VRVP, make sure that it aligns with high volume nodes. And you know, there is some work that goes in. It's not just about drawing a line and thinking that it's resistance. You need to make sure that it aligns with other things as well. Okay, so legends, now this is, dare I say, this is now potentially where I would have jumped into a short. Okay. Because price is below my area of interest. It's not really at a critical resistance level. Therefore, if I had to enter this trade, I'm not entering this trade right now, I would use less capital. So if I'm usually trading with 1% of my portfolio, I would now attempt this trade with 0.5, half of the amount of money that I would use. Okay, another way to think of it is basically it's 50% of my portfolio at 1x leverage. Or it is 0.5% of your portfolio at 100x leverage. Okay, depending on how far your stop loss is, you can go and calculate how much leverage you can use. But from a simplicity perspective, 50% of my portfolio at 1x leverage. This is how I would typically take a trade like this. Now I know where to put my stop loss. Okay, and now this becomes interesting support. So this box now turns green. Very important. This box now turns green. So if we do get a successful rejection here, okay, this is definitely a profit taking area. You might close your entire position, or you could leave some open for lower levels. Okay, depending on what your rules are from a trading strategy perspective. Right, so legends, what I want to do now is I want to go and zoom into this little local structure that we are forming over here on the 5-minute time frame. And while we wait for that to load up, oh, you can see the rejection here on the 5-minute time frame. Beautiful rejection. Okay. And guys, I usually sniper these, right? I usually sniper these. I'm either here or very close to the level, but I'm always slightly below. And sometimes I nail it properly and I get it there on the level. Okay, but it's close because, you know, I want good risk management. I want really good risk management. Price falls in my favor, I protect my position. You know, it's the only thing I have control over. The only thing I have control over is how I manage my trade. I don't have control over the market. I wish I did. We would all be billionaires, right? So the things that I can control, I control. So I would then protect my position so that if you are wrong and it doesn't fall all the way back to support and it just jumps again, at least you don't lose any money, right? And sometimes what happens, well, not sometimes, often what happens is price rejects again. And there is Dewald entering again with his stop above the high. Price moves in my favor. I follow the same process. Okay. Up until a point where the risk to reward doesn't make sense to me anymore. Or if I do take a loss. Okay. For me, this is very important. If my stop is above the high, and price does not give me an opportunity to protect my entry, okay, which means it's still too close to my entry. I don't want to get stopped out and then price moves in the direction anyways, okay? If I had to get stopped out with a loss, I will give it one more try. And if I get stopped out with a loss again, I don't trade for the rest of the day. I take a break because I do not want to revenge trade. But I can tell you guys now, I can get stopped out multiple times at break even, not take a loss. And until the risk reward doesn't make sense, I leave the trade. Okay, it's very important. If you take a loss, you need to take a break. Okay, some people can only handle one loss in a day. Some people can handle two, but I don't recommend going more than two because usually when you get to the third loss, that's when the revenge trading starts to kick in. Okay, and then the revenge trading it's not 1% of your capital anymore. Then you start risking 5% of your capital. You up the leverage. You know how it goes, right? You all know how it goes. I've been there. Right. I opened a short at 91.9. 91.9. 91.9. I don't even have... Oh, 91.9. Sorry. 91.9. 91.1. Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's what I love to see. You absolutely nailed it. Okay. This is something that I look for because I often get screenshots from community members and then they show me, Dewald, look at where I caught it. Woohoo. And I'm like, how did you manage your risk? If you're trying to catch the top, what if it continues? What if it continues over here? How did you manage your risk? When you tell me you've either sniped the level because you saw the weakness, it fell down, or you have an entry slightly below, that to me is like, wow. Because you have to follow your rules for the trading strategy. Any price action below your area of interest is where you are interested, so that you know where to put your stop loss. If you're trying to catch the tops over here and to show off, you're not impressing anyone, because you might get lucky a couple of times, but at some point you're going to liquidate your account. Okay, legends, for me, okay, you're starting to hit support over here, right? This is usually where I start protecting my position. It's just my trading style, right? It's my trading style, and there's no wrong or right way about it. Okay, some people will leave their stop here because now price can bounce here, come back for a retest, and then continue, right? And then it has a beautiful 0.618786 tap over here, and then, that's your wave 1, 2, 3, right? So if you protect your position too quickly, what could happen is if you didn't nail this entry, you could get stopped out and then price falls to the downside anyways. So some traders will leave their stop loss here until their TP is hit, the first TP here to the downside. My style of trading, that's what I'm saying, there's no right or wrong. It depends on your style of trading. Maybe if I'm busy with something and I've got things to do, I will leave my stop loss. It also depends on what I'm busy with. But often, if I'm in front of the charts, I will protect my position, or at least just de-risk myself ever so slightly. If I get stopped out, okay, take a fib from the high to the low, it rejects here, there's 786, it falls, I enter again with my stop above the high, and as it falls, I protect my position. So there's many ways in which you can play this trade, and it's not necessarily that my way is the right way. There's pros and cons to each scenario. Okay. Right, legends, remember, if you'd like to come and trade with me, the exchanges that I use is down in the description. I've got Weeks, Bluffin. You still get that 20% cash back. Okay, if you deposit $500, okay, $1,000, you get 20% of that money to trade with for free. Also 25% discount on your trading fees. Right, and they also have that nice competition where you select this link to go and trade to win a Ferrari. And then Bluffin as well. For those of you that don't like Weeks, I also have Bluffin. Both of these exchanges are email and password only, or cell phone number and password only, and you can start trading. Okay. Right. I think I saw something here on Bluffin that was quite funny, because I know the more volume you move, the more airdrops you get into your account. Yes, you move 70k in volume, you get 6 bananas, right? Basically equivalent, you get $10, right? But it's just funny how they presented it. Trade 500k, you get a 12-pack of sparkling water. Right, so the list goes on to the downside. But basically, the more you trade on Bluffin, the more money gets airdropped into your account. And if you'd like to join our Legends Pro community, the link is always down here in the description. Okay, right, Legends. Currently getting the fall here to the downside. This was the first area to watch. And as you can see right now, I am not in this trade, because I don't care if it falls here to the downside and I've missed out on an opportunity, because I know that there's another trade around the corner. Right, so but what I wanted to look at is this local structure here to the upside. Okay, so now from where the magic started, it's basically this is where it started. This is where it all started. Right, and now we have this massive momentum here to the upside. Now the question is, where on earth is it going to come to an end? Okay, Because a C wave, if this is a C wave or a third wave, it doesn't matter. Both of them need 5 waves inside of them. And I mean, there's a couple of ways. I've been racking my brain in terms of how to count the structure here to the upside. One of the ways, if this is, okay, now this is a big if, guys, please, this is a big if. If this is the end, because we formed the triangle over here, if this is the end because of the triangle, which means that this needs to be your maximum target. Just remember, okay, let me just, for the people that didn't join during the beginning of the stream, okay, you can also count this as a WXY, which is not a triangle. But if this is a triangle in a B wave where you have formed an A, B, C, D, E, this is the maximum target for your C wave. Okay, so there's a chance that this little bad boy can fall all the way to the downside. There's a chance. Okay, I'm not going to bet on that chance and enter a short over here and just wait for this level, right? I'm a type of trader that, you know, you've broken resistance, you hit it again, I take some off the table, because, you know, you all know the price of Bitcoin is unpredictable. Because what if it's a WXY and it makes a small little pullback and it continues back to the upside and you didn't pay yourself? Okay, right, that's why it's so important to take profits where you're supposed to take profits. Right, so, but I just need to speak about the scenario, is that if this is a triangle in a B wave where you have formed an A, B, C, D, E, this is where you want the rejection to take place. And maybe it even makes those triple tops before it actually starts rolling over, or a double top, or it just falls from where it is at the moment. We don't know, because we know, you know, market makers make it difficult to get into these trades. Right, so then I would count the structure as follow. Based on what I've just shared, if that is a triangle, then I would count the structure as a 1. Let's do this again. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th wave to the upside. Very extended 5th wave, but the rule in Elliott wave theory, as long as your 3rd wave is not the shortest, it's valid. Now you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. And you're going to correct almost this entire move over here. Right. Unfortunately, there's another way to count the structure. So what if this is not a triangle that we formed? And momentum is going to continue here to the upside. Right. So, legends, the unfortunate thing is, unfortunately, this structure can be counted in many ways. For me, it's important to keep an eye on levels, so that you can enter successful shorts with good risk management and protect your positions. You hit support, you take profits. So you don't actually care what structure is going to play out. As long as you can short where you're supposed to short and take profits where you're supposed to take profits, you don't actually care what structure is going to play out over here at the end of the day, if you think about it. Okay? Because it can also be counted as a, what if all of this is a 1. This little retracement was the 2. So this is your 1. This is an A, B, C in a 2. And all of this is now only your 3. Then you're going to form a 4. And then you're going to go up for a 5. Right? I must say, this is the structure I like the most. I really like this structure because of the following. Your 3rd waves, 99% of the cases, has the most amount of volume. So this is a clue for me. This is a clue. Most amount of volume is usually in your 3rd wave, not in your 5th wave. So I would still like a retracement. Do you understand why this becomes a very interesting profit-taking area? And then you could potentially have another leg to the upside where you're now officially hitting a proper resistance box to the upside, where this becomes a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-wave structure inside of a C wave. Okay. Although I like the structure the most, it might not be the structure that's going to play out. Okay. What I will be keeping an eye on is, how do we fall here to the downside? How do we fall? Are we going to build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? If I see a 5-wave structure to the downside, I am going to short again, because now you're building impulses back to the downside. If it's a 3-wave structure, corrective structure, probabilities increase that it's a 4th wave. But I mean, it's actually a lot simpler than that, legends. It's a lot simpler. You take your fib from the low of 2 to the high of 3. If the rejection continues here to the downside, okay, your maximum target for a 4th wave is the 50% Fibonacci. This is your maximum target. Commonly also 0.382, 50%. So this box is where your 4th wave needs to find support. If you tap this 618, you invalidate this little wave here to the upside, because the 4th wave is not allowed to tap the 0.618. So these two fib levels becomes very interesting long levels, SFP levels back to the upside. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Let's see how this plays out. Remember to smash up that like button. For the education, for the alpha over here, let me go through some comments. While price is tanking here to the downside. Okay. Actually a nice little rejection here to the downside. I know that price have not hit proper support here. I mean, this is, you know, you can see from a price action perspective, this is your first major support, okay? Ideally where you want to start taking profits. But I can tell you guys now, if I'm in a short and I can see the wave started from over here, the wave started from over here, and if I'm in a short, I usually take a fib from the low to the high of the structure. And when you start hitting some major Fibonacci levels to the downside, I usually start taking a little bit off the table, okay. But I mean, we all have our own rules, our own style of trading at the end of the day. Okay, let me go through some comments. Sniped at 91.3, manage the risk. Faz, absolutely amazing, right? We've identified the level here in the live stream, and for those of you that sniped it, well done. Just remember, okay, nothing's ever guaranteed in the market. It can come back and knock you out and then reject again. Okay, it's the harsh reality of the truth is that it can come knock you out of your trade, and then, you know, you can have another attempt if you get the rejection below the level. As long as price, again, follow the same rules, as long as price is above your area of interest, not interested. Okay, because it could mean that this little wave is not done, right? This wave is not done. It still wants to continue higher to the upside. So legends, now, you know, this is the preferred structure that I'm currently looking at, is to say that, well, what if this is a 1, 2, which makes sense, because if your 1 ended over here, A, B, C, it makes sense. Beautiful, flat. It rejected in the flat zone for your B wave, and your C wave took the low of A. Beautiful, flat. A flat, you know, it wipes out the liquidity above, wipes out the liquidity below, and then it continues. Right. Let me go through some. Does it confirm the ABC count? Not sure what you mean, Dimitri. Does it confirm the ABC count? Not sure what you mean by that question. Same, but already hit TP1. Okay. Some people really scalp. You know, I can share with you guys another trading strategy that I see a lot of people do. Okay, is, if you were a sniper, and this takes practice, this really takes practice, okay, if you sniped that exact level and your stop is at the highs, okay, where price is at the moment, it's already a 3.3 risk to reward. Some traders, what they will do is they will snipe this, they'll put their stop loss there, and as soon as it hits 3 or 2 risk to reward, they just cash out. Done, I'm done. Because they go in with large positions, okay? But I have to stress, it's an advanced trading strategy. It's still part of the swing failure pattern strategy, but it's very advanced. You need to know what you're doing, especially if you're trading with larger proportions of your portfolio. So they don't care about support and keeping the position all the way open here at the bottom, as long as the risk to reward makes sense. So ideally, if your risk to reward hit 3 over here, right over there, okay, more or less, you get in. Where's my pen? You get in, you get out, you call it a day. Happy trade. Now you wait for a next trading opportunity. Simple as that. Okay. I have seen some traders, especially some of the pro members, I have seen some of them do this, but I mean, it takes practice, it takes experience, okay? They don't want to get knocked out of the trade because they realize that the first rejection is always the best rejection. That's where you get that nice initial move to the downside. And then they don't want to risk a double top or a triple top to the upside. They don't want to trade this mess. They just want to get into the initial trade, okay, and cash out when it hits a 3 risk to reward or a 2 risk to reward. And maybe they leave some of the position. You leave 5 or 10% of your position open for lower levels, okay. You can still hit like, don't worry. Yes, you can still hit the like. Right. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. Pure gold insight here, given for free. Yes, you know, I'm giving away a lot of trading secrets over here, and I can tell you guys now, what I'm sharing here on the live streams, most of my live streams, is things that you will pay really good money for to get that educational content from some other people. Okay, and I'm giving it away for free here on YouTube. Okay, I am, however, developing a trading course. I'm busy with it. It's a lot of work, right? Shooting, editing, making sure that you've got example. It's a lot of work to put a trading course together, but I am making a trading course for those people that like to sit down and just study, okay, from A to B to C. Okay, this is how you do it: FIP retracement, trend-based FIP extensions, this is Elliott wave theory, this is the D-line strategy, this is the volume strategy, this is harmonic patterns. I go through, I'm going to go through everything inside of my trading course. Right. Okay, cool, legends. Oh, what a beautiful breakout over here. This morning when I did an update to the Legends Pro community, okay, we spoke about this little bad boy over here. I told the legends, okay, if price is going to reject, it has to reject over here. Has to reject over here. It doesn't have and if it's going to tap the 0.88, I think we're going higher. Right, so I'm not sure if any of the pro members did short this level over here, but I mean, look at this beautiful trend that it formed. You came back for a retest, you did not get acceptance back below. You know, if I was in this short, I would have just exited my, you know, as soon as you start pumping here back to the, I would have just exited this trade. You know, it's not getting acceptance back below the trend. It looks like it wants to continue. There was also bullish CVD building up against those little pivots. So you either got stopped out at a loss and, you know, you enter at the 0.786 and you could have been sniped. You could have had your stop loss above the high. You know, minimal loss here to the upside. The reason I did not like this trade, okay, and I told the pro community I'm not entering the short. The reason I didn't like this trade is because of this structure. Didn't like it, okay? Because if you look at this entire structure from here, so I counted this as a 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, 5. And I also had a count where I counted this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's a problem. There's a problem with this little structure to the upside. It's not a 5-wave structure. If I go here onto the 5-minute time frame, there's a little bit of a problemo over here. I cannot count this as a 5-wave structure. I can't put a 5 over here because I can see a 1, 2, and there's maybe another 1, 2, and then there's a 3. Where's 4? Where's 5? Where's 4? Where's 5? I needed another high in order to classify this as a 5th wave. So I told the legends, if your 5th wave is here, you could have this, the A, B, and now you're forming your first C wave to the downside, right? So this structure threw me off, and this is why I wasn't really confident in this trade. But I mean, the risk management was amazing. If we did fall here to the downside, you know, it was such a small stop loss, but I didn't enter that trade. But here is your problem, you know, after looking at the structure, this is a problem. Okay, it looks like the structure ended over here. This counts beautifully as a 3-wave structure to the downside in an A wave. This counts beautifully as a 3-wave structure in a B wave. Then you have this fall to the downside in a C wave. So the structure came to an end over here. So these are just some of the things that I look at from a structural perspective. But nonetheless, you know, I said, when you zoom out, when you look at the 15-minute time frame, there's a chance. What if? You know, there's always that what if scenario. What if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, the 5th wave did hit 5th wave targets, but it's also a B flat target. So on the larger time frame, you could speculate that there's 5 waves inside of there. Okay, and this is an A, B, and we're going down for a C. Definitely, it could have played out, but it didn't, but it could have played out. But your 786 needs to be your maximum rejection zone. But then the magic happened. Okay, we formed a beautiful trend. Someone actually asked me this morning, okay, yeah, on the 5-minute time frame. Okay, someone asked me, Dewald, will you play these little breakouts, these little small ones? And I said, you can, if you want to scalp them. It's not my favorite, okay? But you can see if you're playing these small little breakouts, okay? But this is scalping, like extreme scalping. You play the breakout, you have your stop below the low, you take profits at the highs. Or maybe at the 786, 618 when you do a fib retracement. You play the breakout, you put your stop below the low, you take profits by the highs. So you would have had 2 successful trades out of these 3. Because this one did not claim the high. My preference is larger trends, a little bit larger, like this one that formed over here. It's a larger trend. The bigger, the longer the trend, the more reliable they are. Okay, and then we got this nice little breakout over here. Beautiful breakout, couple of retests over here. But I mean, even if you played the breakout, where's your stop loss supposed to go? Your stop loss always goes below the recent low. Your stop loss goes here. So even if you were underwater over here and you let the trade play out, well, now you would be in, you know, obviously a TP1 area is always at the highs because look, you got a rejection over there, right? That's a TP1 area. And if you left some of your position open, well, now you have some nice profits in the bag. Right, I told the pro members this morning that I think the D-line strategy, the 1-line trend strategy that I'm showing you guys over here, I think is going to be the magic pull for today. I think it's going to be the flavor for today, right? And the D-line strategy played out to perfection. Look at that beautiful tap, retest, retest, and you just got an explosion here to the upside. Ooh, nice. Are we still getting the rejection? Looks like it. I just want to see what CVD is doing. Let's refresh this. Sure. Guys, this is insanely bullish, right? This is usually also where I exit my positions. Okay, especially if I have a double confirmation. Look at that pivot. Okay, take your mouse down. Look at that pivot. Look at where it is. Look at that insane bullish CVD. People are shorting here like crazy at the moment. Look at yellow. Look at where it is. You're still making higher lows on price action and you're making lower lows on CVD. And there's a double confirmation. It's not on white, it's on blue and on yellow. But for me, usually when I see this, I start taking a little bit more profit. I just take some off the table because you could go back, because remember the target for this bullish CVD is taking the high. So you could go and sweep up the highs again and then you create that double top. Right, so if you are in this trade, you know, I mean, you are local, you are hitting local support over here. You can see, you know, you've got an order block over here. You're hitting local support. I don't like to be in profits and lose it. It's just not how I like to trade. I would rather than wait for, I will take profits here and I will look for the weakness again and I will enter another trade. No weakness, no trade. Okay. Right. We have decent volume 2. Nice, bro. I'm in with the course. Yes, I can't wait to finish the course, but I also want to take my time to make sure that I put quality together for everyone over here. Junior, D-line works for me about a month already. 1 or 2 trades every day, sometimes 0 because R&R. Yes, but I stick to my rules. Yes, Junior, I know that you have been really sticking and using the D-line strategy. And it works incredibly well, even inside of ranges, guys. Look at this range over here, okay? That tremendous, stupid range that we've been in, it had some great trading opportunities. When you are in, and Mr. Junior is part of our Legends Pro community, he knows this. I know he knows this, okay? You have beautiful trends that broke out over here. Maybe it broke out over there. Maybe, okay, so let's take that one. Broke out over here. Okay, there was another one that broke out over there. There was another one. Okay, I mean, this one is very steep. I'm not, but there was another one that broke out over there. There was another one. The D-line strategy, guys, is very, very, very powerful. Okay, there was another one that broke out over there. You could have a rule, okay, because it's never guaranteed that you're always going to claim the high. Okay, if you play a breakout using the D-line strategy, first of all, you need to make sure that the R&R, the risk to reward, makes sense. If the risk to reward doesn't make sense, you don't take the trade. You wait for the next one. This one was actually a beautiful one because the R&R is beautiful. Your stop goes below the low. You're targeting these pivots to the upside. So even this pivot already makes the risk to reward worth it. So if you take 50% off the table when you hit this level and another 50% when you hit the highs, beautiful trade. So like Mr. Junior is explaining over here, the risk to reward has to make sense, because I can tell you guys now, it looks like this first one is one that I wouldn't have taken either, because if I had to plan my trade when the breakout happened over here, so you play this breakout, okay, you're targeting the highs as your maximum profit taking area and your stop needs to go below the low, the risk to reward doesn't make worth it, so I don't take the trade. I would not have played this breakout purely from a risk to reward perspective. Even though it played out, I don't care. I have to follow my rules. It's like a job. It's like a 9-to-5 job. You have to follow your rules. This one, on the other hand, was a beautiful one here to the upside. Okay, you play the breakout. Tight little stop loss, 4.35. Even if you closed your position over there, it's still a 2.41. These are the ones that I really, really like. So you can play the D-line strategy even when price is going sideways. The only thing that changes for me significantly is that I like to take profits at these pivots as well, not just the high. When the market is trending in a direction strongly to the upside or strongly to the downside, it's almost guaranteed every time you're going to hit the high or the low. But when market is ranging, okay, often it will reject at these little pivots and fall down, and then you didn't pay yourself. So you need to adjust the rules for the D-line strategy depending on the market structure that you are in. And I mean, we all knew, myself, the Legend Pro community, Andy, we all knew when this started over here, we're going to go sideways. We all knew it, right? This is a range. After a 5-wave impulsive structure to the upside, you can expect a little bit of a range to form, okay? You have this pump here to the upside, you expect price to start slowing down. But there was a lot of trades using the D-line strategy inside of here. Right. Cool, legends. I hope you guys are enjoying the education. It's just simple trading strategies, but I think the reason a lot of people fail with these simple trading strategies is because they don't have rules built around it. Every trade is just the trade, okay? You go in, pack your bags, 50x, half of my portfolio, let's go, right? And then after you've entered the trade, you're like, shit, where am I supposed to take profits? People, you need to plan your trade. You need to have your rules. You need to look at your risk to reward. Does it make sense? Is the trade worth taking? Is the trade worth risking your money for? You need to ask yourself that question. It's my money. It's my precious money. Is this trade worth risking my money for? If you're feeling confident, the technical analysis makes sense, you can answer your 3 W's. Why am I entering the trade? Where's my risk management? Where am I planning to take profits? Okay. Then by all means, go and enter the trade, but then follow your rules. Also, how much capital do you deploy per trade? How much risk are you willing to take in terms of if you get stopped out, how much money are you prepared to lose without losing sleep? Okay. Are you prepared to lose the money in that trade if your stop loss gets hit? Because often people will enter a trade with a stop loss set. It's set where it's supposed to set, but as price falls against them, they start moving their stop loss because they realize I've risked too much. I don't want my stop loss to get hit, although I've put it where I was supposed to put it, and then they start adding to the position. They start moving their stop losses. Right, let's go through some more comments over here. Mr. Mark Dutch, welcome in the house. We have have we looked at ETH yet? I've briefly looked at ETH yet. I'm still expecting ETH to continue until it hits major resistance here to the upside. I mean, this is the only major resistance that I have here locally on the 4-hour time frame for ETH. Okay, it's sticking its neck out above the highs, right? And it's closed a 4-hour candle above the highs. So for now, it looks like it could potentially continue until it hits this resistance over here. Right, but the ETH trade is a trade what one of our coaches spoke about this morning inside of our Legends Pro community. I just want to see, why do I have this alarm? Okay, that alarm is there for a very specific reason. I think it's the 1.618. I can tell you guys now, I don't know if ETH is going to make another low. Okay, but if it hits this level where I've got my alarm, okay, I have to admit I have a limit order there. It's a very interesting level, but I might not get it, right? It's breaking our trend. It's already retested. Okay, it might hit resistance, it might create a higher low, continue momentum to the upside. I don't know what's going to happen, but if ETH does find weakness to the downside, right, and it claims this low, very interesting zone here for me on ETH. Let me see if I can quickly show everyone why that level is so interesting. Will I be able to fit the structure in here? Let's see, on the 4-hour time frame. A, B, C, let me see. Oops, that's the wrong tool. A, B, C. I think that alarm was set on the log scale, if I'm not mistaken. Very interesting. On the log scale, we actually hit the 1.618. Very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. I didn't see that on the log scale. But on the regular scale, it's still a little bit down. Okay. Which I actually don't know what. Okay, this alarm is in. Guys, sorry. This alarm is in the wrong place. Okay. Sorry. I need to correct myself. My limit order is at the 1.618. On the regular scale, but very interesting that we did hit this level on the logarithmic scale. Very interesting. Could the low be in for ETH? Well, it has a chance. Okay, it has a chance for the low to be in. It did hit a C wave target. A, B, C did hit a C wave target. Right, still currently trading below the level, but I mean, there's some insane bullish CVD building up here, right? Really insane bullish CVD. Like I've explained just now. Remember, legends, if you'd like to come and trade with me, also support the channel, the education that I provide over here on a day-to-day basis. The links for the exchanges that I use is always down in the description. Okay, where you qualify for the biggest sign-up bonuses and lowest trading fees. Right, legends, I don't actually have much else to discuss over here. right? It feels like I need more to talk about over here because it's only been an hour, and usually I'm here for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I don't really have more to talk about. We've identified the levels here to the upside. Okay. Oh, I wanted to share this what if scenario over here. I'll go through some more comments in a moment. Okay, are you in an XRP trade? No, I'm not in an XRP trade at the moment. I still have a spot bag. I left the moon bag. I took significant profits and I left a moon bag. So I do have a moon bag riding if that counts as a trade. Okay, within the last move up on BTC, there can be a strategy in trailing your stop loss to the upside and thus moving your stop loss. Yes, I think most exchanges have a feature, a trailing stop loss feature, where you basically can say, okay, you make it 5%, and as price moves up, it will move the stop loss with the price. And as soon as price falls down, it stops you out and to the downside as well. Very, very, very cool, nifty feature. There's room for more. How do you snip it? I was waiting to short from 91,800, but I missed it. How do you sniper? Well, how do you sniper it? Guys, I always try and explain it, okay, as best as I possibly can. And I have said here on the live stream, it takes practice. Swing failure patterns, okay, or strategies are one of those strategies that enables you to catch the bottoms and the tops and the tops and the bottoms and the tops. It is the only trading strategy that I have come across that enables you to catch these little moves with good risk management. Okay, and when I explain them, they sound easy, but when you start trading them, your nerves kicks in, you start sweating, the emotional side, you know, are we rejecting, are we not rejecting? You enter, you get stopped out immediately. They are not easy, and all I can say is it's like driving a car, okay? If you're driving a car and you phone me and you ask me, Dewald, where's the handbrake? You should not be driving the car, right? You need to you need to practice it. You need to it's the best way that I can explain it. So the best way that I can explain it is that price, this is your area of interest, this is the line. You're looking for a short when price hits that line. When price is above the line, you're not interested in the short. As soon as price falls down below the line, you enter, okay, and your stop goes above the high. It's the only way I can explain it. Okay. Sometimes it does happen when I'm in a live stream and I do a live trade, and I will show everyone exactly what I'm looking at. Okay, do you see that? That's where I enter. Okay. It's a very rewarding trading strategy. It does require screen time. You have to stare at the candle. You have to market execute. There's no fucking limit orders, because where do you put your stop loss if you have a limit order over there? Okay. And then there are the easy trading strategies. A lot more chilled, a lot more relaxed, way more easy. Okay. You have an alarm on your trend, you set your alarm, you see the breakout, you enter with your stop below the low, take profits at the highs. Okay, maybe if it retests, you add maybe slightly a little bit to position, drags your entry down. Okay, it is a much easier trading strategy. It's a little bit more relaxed, and it doesn't happen so fast like a swing failure pattern. But you have to have rules built around every trading strategy that you practice. Okay. So Cyrus, I hope I've explained it as best as I possibly could, but that's in a nutshell how a swing failure pattern works. Okay. Right, legends, thank you so much for joining. Backtesting like crazy, it's a solution for a win. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. It's a little bit of a shorter live stream today. Remember, the links for the exchanges that I use is always down in the description. Also, your way to support the channel. It costs you nothing extra. You get the biggest sign-up bonuses and lowest trading fees. By using the links, all you need is an email and a password. You can also trade to win that Ferrari. I will see you all in the next one. Have a super awesome evening, afternoon, or morning from wherever you are around the world. I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers for now.